susunod na programa ay rated PG. Patnubay at gabay ng magulang ay kailangan sa mga batang manonood.
The views and opinions expressed by the host do not state or reflect those of the company and its management. Furthermore, the views, opinions, and insinuations made by the host, guests, do not reflect those of the show, the management, and the network. Tonight on the PH Insider, a political firestorm takes center stage. The House Committee on Justice has found probable cause to impeach Sara Duterte, bringing the country closer to a possible Senate trial with major implications for the nation's future. Facing allegations of corruption, constitutional violations, and threats to national security, the Vice President rejects the process, calling it politically motivated. But as the process moves forward, the question remains. Is this justice at work or politics in motion? I am Ox Ballado, and this is the PH Insider on TV. Para tulungan tayong higit na maintindihan ang mga isyong pinag-uusapan ngayon ng bayan, makakasama natin ang isang veteran law practitioner. Siyempre, hindi na po bago sa kanya ang mga usapin tungkol sa impeachment. Joining us live is a former spokesperson of Chief Justice Maria Lourdes Sereno. Ladies and gentlemen, Attorney Jojo Lacanilao.
Thank you, Ox, for having me.
We're so honored to have you here in the show, Attorney. Thank you. And, well, of course, welcome to the PH Insider on TV. At makakasama rin po naman natin via Zoom para po magbigay ng kanyang politikal na pagbasa sa isyong ating tatalakayin, ang isa po sa pinakamagaling na political analyst ng panahon ngayon. Academician from University of the Philippines, Department of Political Science, and a former director of the Senate Economic Planning Office. Ladies and gentlemen, Professor Franco. Good afternoon, Professor.
Good afternoon.
Yes, welcome po to PH Insider once again. All right. Ang headline ng mainit na pinag-uusapan ngayon ng sambayanan.
The motion to open the box is hereby denied. So ruled. Let it be placed on the record that the committee will not open the box.
Sa botong 6 affirmative at 38 negative, napagpasyahan ng House Justice Committee na huwag munang buksan ang mga kahon ng income tax returns ni Vice President Sara Duterte sa gitna ng deliberasyon kung may probable cause sa impeachment complaints. Ito ay sa ilalim ng mas pinaigting na pag-iingat ng Justice Panel sa pagtalakay ng impeachment proceedings para matiyak na hindi madadaan pa sa teknikalidad ang mga isinasagawa nilang pagdinig. Ito ay matapos silang haina ng kaso ni Attorney Man Scorpio dahil sa umanong paglabag sa Bank Secrecy Law, Data Privacy Act at Anti-Money Laundering Act nang ilabas ng komite ang umanong suspicious transactions. Bagaman na natiling silyado ang kahon na ito, hindi naman natabunan ang iba pang mabibigat na aligasyon na ibinabato kay Vice President Sara. Isa na rito ay ang kumpirmasyon ng National Bureau of Investigation na authentic ang video kung saan narinig ang umanong killing remarks ni Vice President Sara laban kay Pangulong Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr. Ayon sa NBI, dumaan sa mabusising pagsusuri ang naturang video at lumabas na hindi ito inedit, hindi ito pinutol at hindi rin pinagtugtong at lalong hindi ito gawa ng isang artificial intelligence o AI.
Authenticate ng NBI.
Yes, ma'am.
Hindi yun gawa-gawa lang, hindi yun AI.
Yes, ma'am. We hashed the data, the subject data, meaning the virtual press conference, which was live streamed through social media platforms.
Sinabi naman ni NBI Director Melvin Matibag na posibleng isang kasalukuyan o dating miyembro ng Armed Forces of the Philippines o AFP ang umanong tinutukoy na hitman laban kay Pangulong Marcos Jr. At kabilang daw sa sinisilip nila ngayon ay ang mga malalapit na kasama ng Vice Presidente, pati na ang kanyang security group bilang bahagi ng investigasyon sa naturang kill threat. Dahil sa mga revelasyong ito, naniniwala si Mamamayang Liberal Party List Representative Leila de Lima na ang umanong pagbabanta ni Vice President Sara ang pinakabalakas na batayan upang siya ay mapatalsik sa pwesto. Ayon kay de Lima, ipinapakita umano ng naturang banta ang tunay na karakter at moral na paninindigan ng Vice Presidente. So ngayon, nananatiling under investigation ang kasong isinampa ng NBI sa Department of Justice laban kay VP Sara dahil sa umanong killing remarks. Samantala, idineklara naman ng House Justice Panel na may probable cause ang third at fourth impeachment complaints na inihain laban kay VP Sara. Sa ngayon, inatasan na rin ni Representative Jervel Luistro ang Secretariat Committee na ihanda ang kanilang committee report para maiakit na ito sa plenaryo. Mula rito sa House of Representatives, ako po si Judea Bernardo, DA Patrol.
From headlines to public debate, we now turn our attention to this issue. Good evening once again and welcome to the PH Insider on TV. Nitong mga nakalipas pong linggo, nakalipas na panahon, I was about to say that, over the past few weeks, Attorney and the Professor, maigting pong pinag-uusapan ng sambayanan, hindi lamang po ng Kongreso, no, na mababa at mataas sa kapulungan, bagamat ang sambayanan po tungkol po sa naging proceedings ng impeachment, no, laban po or against Sara Duterte, Vice President Sara Duterte. Now, these proceedings, ano po yung mga key turning points ninyo? Sa tingin po ninyo, let's start first with you, Attorney Jojo.
Yeah, I mean, yung hearing talaga, makikita mo, for me, yung Committee on Justice, they were really very carefully following yung guidance ng Supreme Court, no? And then, one of the things nga, nung isang araw, nung nag-hearing sila, they did not open the BIR box, no? Yung ITR.
Yes,
It's, sa akin, abundance of caution yun eh. Kasi baka buksan nila sa National Internal Revenue Code kasi walang exemption eh.
Exactly.
Hindi pwedeng i-publicize yun eh. So, nagbotohan sila at nag-decide sila na hindi na nabubuksan yan. So, there are many, ang dami, no? Bawat isang araw ng session nila. May mga pasabog, Madriaga, Senator Trillanes, and then, essentially, yung AMLAC presentation. These are all very important, explosive, in my view, evidence.
All right. Professor Jean, as far as this impeachment proceeding is concerned, what do you think were the key turning points here as a political analyst?
Tama si attorney, no? Yung di pagbukas ng tinatawag nga nilang Pandora's box was, I think, a turning point, no? Why am I saying that it's a turning point? Because makikita na nag-iingat sila. And I think because this is being played out, no? Live streamed all over the country, mahalaga rin na makita ng mga tao na this is not being rushed, that people are exercising prudence. Kasi alam mo, mahalaga nakatanggap-tanggap ang resulta nitong impeachment proceedings.
Well, ako, yung observation ko, no, they've been very extra careful. I would certainly agree with both of you, no? Yung pag-handle doon sa green box na yan. But to my surprise, there were lawyers who were suggesting it to be opened during the
I think the legal
proceedings.
argument ni Senator Congressman De Lima for at least once is within our mandate, pwede natin buksan to. And then we are exempted from the constrictions of the law na wag i-publicize ang ITR. But many disagreed with that. So natalo yung buksan. Parang Joseph Estrada nung araw, second envelope, na nanatili na isara muna. Sa Senado na daw bubuksan.
Well, yun yung pinupush ang majority, especially those who voted it's not to be opened. Okay. So what do you consider, what would you consider the biggest pasabog here, or revelations? The ones that were presented during the hearings, from documents, testimonies, or financial records. Ano sa tingin mo, let's start naman with Professor Jean. Ano sa tingin mo po ang pinakamalaking pasabog na nangyari dito?
Siyempre yung yung pasabog, yung yung mismatch, no, doon sa SALN at saka yung mga pera na nahawakan nila na deposito sa bank accounts nila. At mahirap din kasi i-deny kasi dokumento siya, no? Bagamat of course patuloy na dinideny ng kampo ni VP Sara na ito ay nakuha by legitimate means, no?
All right, thank you for that, Professor. As a standpoint of a legal practitioner, Attorney Jojo, doon sa mga nilatag nila, anong pinakamabigat doon na naging pasabog?
Madriaga is a very important witness, no? Marami siyang sinabi doon. Almost like an eyewitness doon sa mga pagbabayad ng pera na ginastos nung 125 million yon. Tapos yung AMLAC is really a documented evidence. Ngayon, ang nangyari, as pointed out by Professor Jean siguro, is kaya ang defense nahirapan sila eh. What they do is deflection, denial, pero wala talaga silang maibigay na rebuttal. Rebuttal evidence na sasabihin nila, hindi totoo yung 6.77 billion. Kasi ito yung namin, ebidensya eh. They can only say, hindi totoo yan, okay, it doesn't amount to crime. So, deflection, denial, so it tells me na yung mga prinisenta doon sa witnesses, medyo mabigat labanan yon. Nakakaawa yung defense kasi nahihirapan talaga silang. They're scampering, they're flailing on how to actually defend yung mga malinaw na ebidensyang pinakita.
Okay, let's talk about the presentation of evidence, Attorney and Professor. No? Doon po sa panig ng mga complainants and members of the House Justice Committee, gaano ba kalakas o ka-consistent ito pong presentation of evidence na ginawa nila? In your analysis,
Kasi mababa, yung threshold naman probable cause lang eh.
Yes.
Hindi naman to criminal case that you have to prove beyond reasonable doubt.
Right.
So, I mean, it's almost like a preponderance of evidence. May ebidensya ang prosecution, may ebidensya ang defense. Sino ang mas mabigat? Yun na yung decision. Ang problema lang kasi, this is one of the things na nangyari, is that hindi sumipot si VP Sara. So, she had no choice, she had no chance of presenting any counter evidence. Siguro wala rin talaga, no? So, the threshold, I think, from my perspective, nasampahan na ng probable cause, no? Something happened, was she the one guilty of doing it? Yun naman ang probable cause. So, mukhang nasampahan nila yung standard na yun.
How do you think, how effective were these in challenging the accusation?
One of the things na ginagawa nila is yung kina-counter yung narrative sa media, no? Sa labas. Hindi sa loob ng committee hearing. Kaya nangyayari, yung defense nila, for example, yung cash on hand na wala sa SALN, ang explanation nila is, hindi, nilagay namin sa other channel. Which for people like me who used to fill up SALNs, it's kind of a laughable assertion, no? Na hindi naman ako accountant. Some accountants hindi mo ilalagay sa others yung cash on hand. Kasi liquid yun eh, doon mo ilagay yun. So, yun yung mga bagay na napuna ko lang. But the problem with them is, hindi nila ma-defend inside the committee. Kaya sa labas sila. Not very effective. Kasi parang pinaglalabanan na lang doon, public opinion. Pero sa legal, sa committee, wala silang panlaban.
Okay. Thank you, Attorney. Well, Professor Jean, we got disconnected earlier. I was about to ask you this question because we've been hearing counter narratives, from the Vice President's camp. How effective do you think were these in challenging the accusations?
Alam mo, kasi tingin ko natatalo yung kampo ni VP Sara Duterte sa hindi nila pagdalo, no? Kasi nakita nyo naman ilang beses na ina-emphasize ng committee, no, na hindi siya nakakadating. So parang ang dating tuloy, kung ikaw ay nanonood, i-snub niya yung committee. But at the same time, tama nga si attorney, no? Ginagawa nila, nagpe-press con sila. Pero kasi nami-miss yung pagkakataon ng makapagsalita. So, I don't know, to an ordinary person, this may look like, you are evading something, no? You are hiding something kapag ka ganun eh. Kasi bakit hindi ka prangka, hindi ka magsalita and you're blaming other people for what's happening to you. So, yun yung talo dun yung kampo sa tingin ko ni VP Sara.
Yeah, and to my mind, I think also, parang nalalagay din tuloy siya sa alanganin kasi hindi niya nasasagot yung mga aligasyon.
Parang ngayon kasi sa Ox, naging strategy nila, sa area ni Professor Ginto, ang pinaglalabanan na lang nila, public perception eh.
Yes.
Tapos yung framing nila doon sa mga nangyayari, it's all political. Political lang lahat siya, public perception therefore yung nilalabanan nila. So they're trying very hard sa PR side. I don't know if they're effective, pero sa legal, matalo sila sa House Committee, no? So I don't know if that's an effective strategy, but that seems to be what they're doing. Deny, deflect sa public, get the public agree with them. Bahala na yung legal, kumbaga. Hindi na namin sasagutin by rebuttal evidence. Bahala na yan. Siguro ang pag-asa rin nila, sa Senate naman, mukhang mananalo kami. Kasi walang vote for conviction doon eh. So, yun yung play nila. I'd be happy to be a fly on the wall doon sa mga discussion in defense. Pero it seems to me ganun nangyari.
Alright. Professor Jean, merong mga mabibigat na aligasyon na hinggil po sa movement of ito pong malalaking halaga ng pera and in fact the use of confidential funds. No? Gaano po ito kasignifikante para sa inyo? Itong mga aligasyon, gaano kabigat?
Very significant ito dahil usapin ito ng accountability at alam mo, dito sa impeachment process na to, no, malalaman natin kung matatag pa rin ang ating mga institusyon. Kung kaya nating talikuran yung isang public official na na-accuse ng corruption o hindi. So, napakahalaga na maging katanggap-tanggap at maging transparent ang proceedings nito.
Yes. How about Attorney Jojo? These testimonies alleging the Vice President who have been using confidential funds and among other things.
Yun yung one of the counts no? Sa impeachment, exactly. Diba? Graft and corruption, gross violation of the Constitution. Yun talaga yung meat no? Tapos from some others, pati yung threat against the President, First Lady, tsaka si former Speaker. So, sagutin mo yun kasi yun yung meat nung accusation sa'yo eh. But they cannot apparently they could not answer it, no? Kaya otherwise pupunta ako doon, sasabihin ko. Kasi kailangan mo counter evidence. Binilagay yung AMLAC, pinakita yung cash flow 6.77 billion. They only say hindi totoo yan. Pero ano yung totoo? Pakita niyo sa amin. So, walang ganon eh. So, mabigat yun. Kaya I think, for me, nasabi ko na kanina, parang nasampahan na nila yung probable cause na standard. So, I think it will go on for the trial.
Alright. Yung Committee on Justice, Professor Jean, may mga... They actually cited bank records and audit findings. Ito ba mas nagpapalakas pa, nagpapatibay pa sa kaso in a substantial way? Would you consider that? Tingin niyo ba?
Oo naman sa punto de vista ng mamamayan. At ang nagpapaano pa nito, ang nagpapa-complicate pa nito, no, dahil si VP Sara Duterte ay nagdeklara na tatakbo siyang presidente, no. Siyempre, sa ordinaryong mamamayan, ang panuntunan niya sa gusto niyang maging presidente ay yung yung kayang managot, no? In whatever way sa kanyang constituents, no? Sa mga Pilipino. So, tingin ko, marami na rin sa ating mga kababayan ang nag-iisip, no? Na is this someone we want to be president someday? So, kaya ang tingin ko, if I were in the camp of Sara Duterte, I would really encourage her to respond, no? All these allegations.
Sa panahon niyo, attorney, itong mga sinight na mga nabanggit ng mga bank records and audit findings, mas madidiin pa ba lalo dito?
Solid yun. Kasi data galing sa AMLAC, which is a government entity na hindi niya inimbento. Na yung mga suspicious transactions reported ng mga bank yan. So, paano mong i-deny yun? Kaya hindi naman nila dinideny actually ng company VP Sara. So, mahihirapan sila doon. Pero I think one of the solid evidence, para explosive yun, na finally, nakita natin yung actual na mga pera na dumaan sa bank accounts
Yes.
outflows and inflows na hindi maipaliwanag yung provenance. Kasi yung sweldo niya hindi aabot sa 6.7 billion over the several decades, no? Kaya parang meron na kagad presumption ng hidden hidden wealth, no? Kaya mabigat 'yon because it's based on data rather than speculation.
Alright. Sige. Pag-usapan naman natin, balikan lang natin to pahapyaw, itong hindi nga pag-attend ni Vice President Sara Duterte, no? Dito sa mga hearings, from a legal and of course a political standpoint, ano po talaga yung impact nito sa pagdating sa perception and the strength of her defense? Just to emphasize lang, although you fleetingly mentioned earlier
Obviously, para
the repercussions.
Tingin ko lang, no? People think na para ka surrender. Kasi kung talagang lalabanan mo, dapat nandun ka, forefront ka eh. Ako, tingin ko, as a lawyer, no? Kapag wala kang defense, talagang hindi ka haharap eh. Kasi may hirapan kang i-defend yung position mo. Sabi nga lang, if you have no defense, you just pound the shoe on the table as loud as you can, bang the table. They can't do that. That's why they did not appear. Kaya lang, nasagasaan sila ng buong complaint at saka yung mga ebidensyang present na walang effective na response. They go, tapos inaayos nila yung public image relations paglabas sa press conference. Not as effective.
Panahon naman po ng isang political analyst, Professor Jean, how does that impact the perception and the strength
Well,
of her
of course,
defense?
gusto nilang i-fuel yung gusto nilang narrative na parang this is just a mere political persecution, that's one. Pero ako, bagamat sabi ko nga, no, kailangan sana lumabas si Sara Duterte, umaten. Pero ngayon, it just dawned on me na baka din it can also backfire against them, no? Kung umaten, not only because she had to defend herself, but also because in the past, pag umaattend si Sara Duterte ng mga hearings, talagang she's so uncomfortable responding to the questions. Makikita mo yung galit. So, siguro iniisip nila that it might work against her in her presidential bid. No? Kung ano man yung mangyari.
Hindi kaya strategy din niya kaya hindi nagpapakita. I mean,
I agree with the assessment ni Prof. Jean kasi parang you're fighting for perception. Ngayon, kung hindi mo makontrol yung narrative mo dahil napikon ka, may deficit.
Exactly.
May deficit.
or pwede pang magdiin.
Kaya, I think, in a sense, yun ang strategy.
Okay.
Let's keep away from there. Bahala sila. Lalabanan na lang namin ito sa Senado na meron kaming konting support na baka acquitted naman anyway. So, ganun siguro yung nagiging mindset nila. Saka yung pag-iisip nila.
At lalo na, nakita naman natin kung paano magalit si VP Sara, di ba? So, ang tingin ko, gusto nilang i-avoid yung ganung pangyayari ulit.
Well, at this juncture, quite apparently, meron hong nagkaroon na ho ng malinaw na palitan ng mga testimonya and evidence of pieces of evidence have already been presented by both camps. Gaano po ba ka-solid yung kaso as it moves really closer to a possible Senate trial?
Ako, feeling ko nga, dahil probable cause yung standard ng evidence, I think nasampahan na nila yun. So, darating sa plenaryo yan, pagbobotohan ng 1/3, 30%. Kasi sasama na yan sa Senado. Ngayon, sa Senado, syempre, ganun din naman ang standard, hindi naman beyond reasonable doubt eh. So, preponderance of evidence lang to.
Okay, yes.
May evidence sila, may evidence kami, mas mabigat yung sa amin. Dapat convicted. Pero, mas alam ni Prof. Jean to, the politics siyempre plays a lot. At ako, tingin ko lang, walang number ang conviction sa Senado. Kaya if I were them, diretso ko na sa Senado to, doon na lang tayo maglabanan. Kaya lang, may dynamics kasi lalabas lahat ng ebidensya. And I don't know how the public will perceive it or act on it. Pag nakita na nila, ito pala talaga. At tapos walang sagot si VP Sara, na-preview na natin para walang sagot, baka magbago yung public opinion.
Yes.
Pero yung boto sa Senado, parang ngayon, parang at this point, parang hindi siya mako-convict. Dahil kulang.
Professor Jim, before I finally let you go, I understand you still have a commitment, a prior commitment rather. Okay, can you please give us your take on this matter? Okay.
Tama, no? At may isa pang nagpa-complicate, no? Pagdating sa Senado, yung flood control scandal. Diba? Kasi alam naman natin ng politika, no? It can also be used as a bargaining chip by those who are being accused.
Correct.
Yes.
Tama yan.
Diba?
Same with politics, no? So, really political, legal, and constitutional impeachment talaga eh.
Yes,
Hindi talaga siya purely legal.
In nature.
Pero constitutional siya. So, may responsibility in judges to be fair and abide by the evidence. But who knows what will happen.
All right. Okay. At this point, Attorney, we have to thank Professor Jean for joining us this
Thank you
evening.
so much.
Thank you for sparing your time for us.
Maraming
We
salamat,
appreciate it.
Atty. Maraming salamat. Thank you.
We'll see you again soon. Thank you. After weeks of explosive hearings, conflicting narratives, and mounting evidence against Sara Duterte, one question now takes center stage. What happens next? We'll take a short break. The PH Insider returns in a moment.
2025 was a meaningful year for Bingo Plus Foundation. As our purpose grew, it was time for a new chapter. Introducing DigiPlus Foundation.
Education is the bridge to opportunities. Through the Future Smart program, we empower learners and educators nationwide. At DigiPlus Foundation, we multiply learning for a better future.
Healthcare should come with no barriers. Kalusugan Plus delivers medical missions, and Embrace Plus mental health support, which empower every Filipino through compassionate and accessible healthcare. At DigiPlus Foundation, we multiply healing. One patient, one community at a time.
Every dream deserves a chance. In Wish Plus, we grant wishes, empowering individuals, families, and communities together with their partners. At DigiPlus Foundation, we multiply hope, dignity, and possibilities.
Disasters don't wait. Through the Bayanihan Plus program, we mobilize immediate response and recovery efforts. At DigiPlus Foundation, we multiply the spirit of Bayanihan across the nation.
DigiPlus Foundation is committed to delivering on our promise to bring help within everyone's reach. When support becomes accessible, impact doesn't just grow, it multiplies.
Madali pa mag-cash in sa Bingo Plus?
Sa Bingo Plus, official partner na namin ng Bayad Center. Easy!
License ba yun ng popcorn?
Sa Bingo Plus, kaya responsible gaming lagi.
Ang fun!
Gaming? Na may insurance?
Sa Bingo Plus, sa PhilFirst, insured ang wallet mo ng 1 million pesos.
Safe nga! Talaga namang...
Sa Bingo Plus, partnered with Bayad Center, licensed by PAGCOR, protected by PhilFirst. Sa Bingo Plus.
The best players succeed because they set boundaries. Every great athlete wins with control. Always have a game plan.
Nabanggit naman siguro sa inyo ni Tito na ako nang bagong mag-caretaker ng bahay niya. Ako na rin daw ang bahalang mag-decide kung sino ang mag-i-stay at aalis dito. Saan ang kwarto ko?
Baby? Ano? Ay, yung kwarto mo, di ba pababae naman yung kulay peach?
Bakit nga ba kulay peach yung kwarto mo man?
Alam niyo mga tol, kapag ka macho, astig, kahit anong kulay bagay. Anyway, doon sa pinto sa kanan, nandun yung kwarto ko. May mga konting gamit lang doon, pero tatanggalin na lang namin. Teka, saan pala ako magkakwarto?
Pre, kung okay lang sa'yo,
Sa kwarto ko, tabi tayo.
Ito naman.
Ano pre? Okay lang ba sa'yo?
Oo naman. Wala naman akong magagawa eh.
O sige na, magpapahinga na ako. Bukas na tayo mag-usap.
Wait. Your name is T-Rex, right? So you come here often?
Trix. Trix ang pangalan ko, hindi T-Rex.
So you like magic tricks?
Dati bang may saltik tong kaibigan mo? Ikaw? Pag yung biro mo hindi mo patinigin, ikaw yung unang aalis dito sa bahay.
Ben, ba't ang sungit nun? Parang di pang sitcom.
Welcome back. This is the PH Insider on TV. From the merits of the accusations, we now turn to what lies ahead. With the House Justice Committee finding probable cause against Sara Duterte, the spotlight now shifts to the process where all procedures properly followed and what comes next as it moves closer to a possible Senate trial. So let's break it down, Attorney.
Yeah, after yung huling hearing nung 29th, 2 days ago, the next, meron pa ang Congress ng May 4 to hanggang June 5 na session. Dadalhin doon and supposedly doon magbobotohan yung plenary. The plenary needs 30% to pass it on to the Senate. So yun yung hinihintay natin. Pero tapos na yung hearing sa Committee on Justice. May resolution na. Mabobotohan na lang ng plenary kung nag-agree sila na may probable cause. That says 30%, 110, 106 votes lang.
There's about what? 300, over 300 congressmen.
Kaya mga 106, 110.
Yeah, something around that figure. Okay.
So pag nakuha nila yung 110, I don't know kung kailan nakukunin yon. It may be before the end of May, mabilis naman yon. Papasa na kaagad yon sa Senado. Parang yung nangyari February last year. Pinasa sa Senado, doon na papasok yung question ng forthwith.
Okay. Kung agad-agaran ba itong tutugunan?
Anong gagawin ng Senado?
Okay.
At nag-weigh in ang Supreme Court, diba, the other day.
Yes.
Kaya maganda rin pag-usapan.
But given those facts, were all the process or procedures properly observed here?
Yeah, that's a good question. No? Kasi nung invalid yung ginawa nila nung July, 2025. Sabi ng Supreme Court, hindi tama yung due process na ginawa niyo. Kulang. So ang Supreme Court actually nagbigay ng procedure which is very interesting kasi parang ini-impose nila sa isang co-equal branch, no? But let's put that away. Pero they gave several guidelines on how to satisfy the requirement of due process. And yung napanood ko anyway, na mga sessions ng House Committee, they're very, very careful na sundan nila yung guidelines ng Supreme Court kasi ayaw na nilang mapunta sa Supreme Court na naman, kino-question yung validity ng ginawa nila.
Just like what happened in the
July, yung last in 2025. So, talagang very careful. In fact, may mga hearing na mga tanong ng congressman. Tapos pipigilan sila ni Chair Luis Rosa. Sabi, hindi, huwag niyo itanong yan kasi probing question na yan pang-trial yan. Ang kailangan lang natin, clarification. So, hindi nila na itatanong yung gusto nilang itanong. Kaya they were very, very careful. At saka one indication na pag-usapan natin kanina, of their carefulness, yung BIR, ITR. No? Hindi nila binuksan yung box. Kasi kung binuksan nila yun, pwede na namang sabihin na violation of due process, violation of the law, etc. So, they're very careful. Kaya ang tingin ko, parang wala nang pwedeng ibato na violation of due process dahil sinubukan nilang gampanan lahat ng recommendation ng Supreme Court.
Pero may sinasabi, may mga concerns din, as you perhaps also would have heard, na there were concerns on, sinasabi nga yung hearings daw went beyond the original complaints. And ang tanong doon is, could this raise a due process issue?
Yeah, but yung mga napanood ko, hindi. Kasi 4 counts yun At they actually discuss yung each count. Tsaka yung mga presentation belong to one of the counts. No? Kaya palagay ko, hindi naman yun, hindi papatok yun. Ang una nilang I think may case ngayon, Supreme Court, na trial na to. Hindi na to hearing lang ng House Committee, ang trial sa Senado. So, therefore, invalid yung ginagawa ng House Committee.
Okay.
Pero I don't know kung the court will actually agree to that. Kasi yung nakita ko, talagang iniwasan nila na magbukang trial Puro clarificatory question, walang probing question. Yung description nila ron. So, parang wala na akong makita na magiging cause pa that the court will enjoin dahil invalid yung nangyari, like what happened last year.
Yes.
Kaya, my prediction, tuloy na to sa Senado.
Sa pangkalahatan, ito bang proceedings itong the entire proceedings, can you consider this as really fair and impartial?
Well, ang definition...
O walang bahid ng bias man lang?
Hindi natin of course, may mga sarili motivation ng bawat politiko na nandun, Pero in terms of legal requirements for due process, kasi yun lang naman ang constitutional guarantee na dapat lahat ng inaakusa, whatever it is, bigyan mo ng chance to be heard.
Yes.
So, yun lang ang standard ng due process. And I think, ang argument ng marami sa Kongreso is we have given ample time and chance to VP Sara to appear at least 6 times. So they're confident, and I agree with them, na we have extended due process. So hindi na pwedeng gamitin pa yung argument at sabihin, hindi, na-violate yung due process ko Kasi ang due process lang naman, ibig sabihin, bigyan ka ng chance sumagot o confront mo yung mga problema na hindi niya ginawa. Hindi niya ginawa for 6 times. So I don't think meron pang valid complaint na na-violate yung due process rights ni VP Sara.
You earlier mentioned about the 1/3 vote ng Kongreso. How critical is this in securing?
That's constitutional requirement. Kasi hindi pwedeng pumunta sa Senado kung 30% hindi bumoto. So pag kumbaga kung 20% lang yung in favor of the probable cause, the petition is failed. So wala, tapos yung kaso. Kasi the Congress is not, hindi sila nag-agree. At least 30% of them. Kasi parang silang fiscal
Yes.
And they're going to approve due process or not. Pag hindi na break yung 30%.
Itong mga congressmen, So, okay.
Pag hindi na break yung 30%, parang dininay na nung fiscal yung complaint na yon at wala na, tapos na yung impeachment.
Pag nakarating na to sa Senado, how does this process will differ from the...
Well, the Senate will now...
From what was held at the Congress.
Mag-aano siyang Senate, magko-convene as impeachment court. Hindi as Senate, impeachment court. Naka-robe sila, di ba?
Yes.
Tapos mag-oath sila ng bilang judges ng impeachment na they will swear to the fairness na gagawin nila, etc. in listening to the evidence and everything. So, yun yung next na tanong, Ang question lang natin na hindi natin ma-predict kung kailan gagawin ng Senado yon. If you remember last year, si under Chis Escudero, natanggap nila ng February yung complaint. Hindi nila, until matapos yung election ng July. So, forthwith pa ba yun? Immediate ba yun sa 5 months? So, ngayon, naglabas ang Supreme Court ngayon ng definition ng forthwith Pero walang masyadong standard. Ang sinabi lang nila, reasonable time.
So it remains to be very subjective.
It's again, parang sinabi mo sa Senado, discretion nyo pa rin.
Yes.
Tapos kung unreasonable yan, somebody will file a case and sasabihin namin kung unreasonable time yan. So, yun yung blank ngayon, kailan gagawin ng Senado to? Kasi mag-e-end ang session June 5.
Okay.
Magre-resume sila July 27 for a regular session again the next
It's over a month of recess.
Recess. Tapos yun yung SONA. Gagawin ba ni Tito Soto to before the end of June 5? Not just June 5? Or hihintayin na naman natin yung end of July kasi bagong session na, saka lang nila i-convene yung impeachment court. The difference last year and now, last year may election. So, naghintay sila ng election. Ngayon, it's up in the air. Hindi natin alam. Kasi the Supreme Court did not give quantifiable standard. Ano ba yung forthwith? Discretion na talaga.
Ano ba yung period? May reglementary
wala
period ba?
Wala
So vague yun yung
vague yun for me. Reasonable. So because of that, it's not very useful. Paano ni-resolve ng Supreme Court? I was hoping sana they applied it dun sa nangyari noong February. Na nung ginawa nila, natanggap ng February, July na sila na gano'n. That may not be reasonable. Sana may ganong opinion dun sa nangyari. Para at least meron tayong idea ano ibig sabihin nun. Right now, I don't have any idea.
At least we also see as to when exactly it's going to happen. But I heard the Senate President saying in one of his interviews, they're kind of prepared or they're still preparing.
So, kaya nga we're hoping. Pero it's still up to him, no? It's still up to them.
At the end of the day.
Oo. Kaya I don't think Tito Senator Soto is the same as Chis Escudero, no? May iba-iba naman silang style. Kaya we will see. But yun yung timeline. June 5, tapos na yung session na to. If they don't convene, sa susunod na. Which is earliest July 27. Kaya gaano katagal tayo maghihintay para marinig na natin yung impeachment court? 2 months, di ba? Ganun pa yung nakikita natin. Diba?
I'm eager to ask this question to you, Attorney Jojo. No? For the Vice President herself, what does the outcome of these hearings signify, both legally and politically?
Politically, tingin ko, hindi advisable kay VP Sara na protracted yung discussion sa House.
O pahabayan.
Kasi nasisira, nag-weaken yung kanyang popularity ron. If I were her, didiretso ko na sa Senate yan. Legally, impeach siya pag natapos sa House, no? So, pero hindi natin alam kung ano mangyari sa Senate. But as I said, if you count the votes, parang walang 16 votes to convict her. Pero as you and I know, may mga politics behind the scene yan, di ba?
Sabi ko, baka nga naka-mindset na yung boto eh.
Oo nga, isa pa yun.
But there will be factors, as you mentioned earlier.
Yeah. Dapat yung judges kasi will look at the evidence. Kasi legal procedure pa rin to.
Precisely.
And constitutional. At the same time, it's everybody understand politics dito. No?
Yes.
So may play ang politics dito. Hindi lang sa part ng senator. Kasi what will the Marcos administration do? If do they want to influence the vote, di ba? So titignan natin. Those are the things na hindi ko alam personally. Pero yun yung mga factors. So for now, while the votes seem to be not with the conviction, pero who knows what will happen. So
may laban pa rin.
Sana tumuloy sa Senate and then makikita na natin how it will go. So magkakaroon tayo ng idea kung ano talaga yung nasa isip ng mga senador and how will the public perceive it and what will the public do kung nakikita nilang mukhang hindi mukhang hindi okay ito and everything like that. Parang nangyari na sa ating sa mga nakarang history natin, impeachment ni Erap, the public actually reacted. No?
Yes.
Dahil hindi binuksan
Nung hindi
yung
binuksan
second
yung envelope. Okay.
So ganito rin, who knows kung ano mangyayari. Kasi politics is really hard to contain. Hindi mo alam kung saan tatakbo yan.
Yes. It's just so intricate. Yeah. All right, sige. Let's for us to wait and see. Meron pa bang natitirang mga option para kay VP Sara Duterte? Or can she still challenge or say put a halt on the process?
Well, they try to go to the Supreme Court, diba? And nobody can prevent them naman file all cases, pero whether the Supreme Court will act on them, hindi natin alam. Kasi nag-TRO sila Hindi ginrant ng Supreme Court yun Hindi tinigil. Pero siya, in a sense, politically, sa House kasi, pwede siya mag-campaign doon so that they don't get the 30%. Yun yung sa level ng House of Representatives. Pagdating sa Senado, talagang labasan na ng evidence and then witnesses na legal strategy and everything. Kasi trial yun. Trial yun. Hindi na botohan yun at some point. Trial yun. Tapos magbobotohan kung conviction o hindi. So, magiging iba yung strategy ni Ron. Kasi hindi na siya pwedeng, hindi na siya pwedeng mag-absent, pero sabi ni Senator Lacson, pero pwede niyang i-waive yung presence niya. So I don't know kung pupunta siya ron at makikilahok siya, pero I'm sure may mga defense counsel siya. So we will see kung anong gagawin nila ron. Pero that's another stage na trial yon. Sabi nga nila, we're getting to the interesting parts, the exciting part. At makikita na natin yung evidence. And how will actually VP Sara respond to this evidence. First time makikita natin, other than denial and deflection, hindi yan ibig sabihin porque may inflow siya, definitely crime na yan. Hindi yan ang ibig sabihin. It does not equate to that, if I may quote one of the lawyers. So makikita natin, yan ba yung defense niya o meron kayong more substantive?
Many of our kababayans actually believe that there will be broader implications itong impeachment na to. If you talk about a political alliance, governance, and the direction of politics.
For sure.
How do you view
Well,
that, Attorney?
one of the things that I'm trying to look at, kasi this will also determine for me who will be wielding power after 2028. Kaya may implication to sa future ng ating bansa. Kasi whoever wins the political battle now, makikita mo na kung sino ang mananalo sa election sa 2028. That's why people are kind of, jockeying very hard kung para matalo, manalo, hindi na kumandidato or kumandidato. Kasi this will really determine kung talaga bang malakas si VP Sara sa election, etc. Then we will know who will then wield power, political power sa ating bansa after 2028. Nag-change, nag-shift yung scenario, and then we will see.
Okay. Sige. The last but not necessarily the least of the questions that we prepared for you, Attorney Jojo, that we need to discuss. How should our fellow citizens who continue to closely follow political developments view or interpret these events?
Well, sabi nga ni Professor Jean kanina, acid test to sa democracy natin at sa freedom natin. Can our institutions actually prevent impunity? Can actually make highest government officials accountable for perceived wrongs, tsaka mga complaints? Kaya ba natin to as a country? So, mabigat na kailangan tignan ng lahat ng Pilipino. Kasi kung naririg pala, kahit na anong ginawa mo na, obvious na, hindi ka pa rin madala sa legal process, impunity, hindi ka held accountable. May problema yung democracy natin. We're democracy in name, pero not in practice. When the elites always, go scot-free. Ngayon lang, natetest na rin tayo sa mga flood control, di ba? Talaga bang makukulong natin yung mga powerful senators and congressmen na yan? Impeachment naman, talaga bang matatanggal natin ng isang vice-presidente na palagay natin nagnakaw ng pera, may ginawang ganito, may yung counts ng impeachment. So it's an acid test. So hopefully we pass it. At that's our institution are strong enough to make sure na mawala yung impunity, na accountable lahat ng mga government, public officers. Otherwise, walang pupunta ng Pilipinas. People can go and do whatever they want. Tapos walang mangyayari sa kanila. Wala na, hindi na tayo democracy, I think. Kaya kailangan batayan natin yan.
All right. At this time, Attorney Jojo Lacanilao, I want to thank you for your generosity of being here today, discussing with us about the impeachment proceedings. Maraming salamat po.
Salamat po. My privilege.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Once again, we would like to thank Attorney Jojo Lacanilao, the former spokesperson of Chief Justice Sereno. Thank you.
Thank you.
What we are witnessing is not just an impeachment, it is a reckoning, a test of whether power is truly accountable or simply protected by influence and narrative. The case against Sara Duterte will now move forward, carrying with it not just allegations, but the weight of public trust. If the evidence is strong, it must stand. If it is weak, it must fall. Because at the heart of this process is a simple but powerful principle. No one is above the law. And as this story continues to unfold, the nation watches not just for a verdict, but for truth. Magandang gabi. Ako po si Ox Ballado, and this is the PH Insider on TV.